Tonight at 5, haze on the Front Range for the 30th straight day.
A couple weeks ago, I went for a run outside, and I had a headache afterwards.
The state issuing yet another air quality alert.
Along with the scattered thunderstorms and all of the smoke, we've had hot temperatures, and they're going to get even hotter over the weekend.
We're now seeing the effects of these conditions with more children heading to the hospital.
We do see an uptick in asthma, exacerbations, and trips to the ER for wheezing and trouble with asthma.
That's not stopping Coloradans from enjoying the outdoors.
We've still gone outside, my sister and I, to play some tennis, but not as consistently as previous summers.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. Most of Colorado, including the Front Range, is under an air quality alert again because of the bad air conditions. Now, this is the 30th day in a row the state's issued this alert.
High ozone levels and smoke from the wildfires out west are to blame. And this is a live look at our Denver 7 radar, showing the smoke around our state right now. All the blue is moderate smoke, the red, that's where the highest concentrations are. And our Patrick Perez is live in Sloan's Lake tonight. Patrick, this air is so harmful for everyone, especially so for our children.
It really is, especially if they have something like asthma like I do. I always have to carry my inhaler when the quality of the air is this bad. Still today, that did not keep people away from the several parks we visited here in Denver, but doctors say if you do fall into one of these sensitive groups like having asthma, you're better off at home.
Another day in Denver.
It's been pretty rough.
Where the air quality is poor once more.
This week has definitely been worse than previous weeks.
And while it's not keeping everyone inside, it is limiting how often and how long some are staying outside.
We've still gone outside, my sister and I, to play some tennis, but not as consistently as previous summers because of how bad the air quality has been.
Even the healthy, like Jacob Townsend, are feeling the effects of breathing in this bad air.
A couple weeks ago, I went for a run outside, and I had a headache afterwards, and that day, specifically, the air quality was pretty intense, or pretty bad.
But the most vulnerable are those in sensitive groups like people with asthma, especially little ones.
Little kids and their little lungs, you never really know. You know, what's safe and what's not.
Lauren Stasiak, a nanny, wasn't sure at first what this haze hiding our skyline and mountains was all about.
I thought it was just fog, but then when I found out it was smoke, I was kind of taken back, and I was like, okay, this is a little gross.
That smoke, coupled with high ozone levels, is what's causing concern.
This is definitely one of our worst years.
Dr. Karen Wolf is an ER doc at Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children. She says times like these can be a problem for so many kids.
Certainly every summer when the air quality is poor, we do see an uptick in asthma, exacerbations, and trips to the ER for wheezing and trouble with asthma.
Your best bet, especially if you're in these sensitive groups, is to limit your time outside. But good luck convincing your kids why.
Okay, so because we are, of course, still in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, it is important to know the difference between symptoms that are caused by asthma and symptoms from COVID-19. With asthma, you deal with coughing, shortness of breath, for example. When you should probably consult a doctor is if you have the coughing, the shortness of breath, a fever, and a runny nose. That is the latest here in Sloan's Lake in Denver. I'm Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
All right, Patrick, and you keep that inhaler close at hand there. Let's bring in our chief meteorologist, Mike Nelson, for some perspective here.
And Mike, we know wildfire smoke plays a large part in our air quality, but this is not letting up.
No, it's not going to very much either. As a matter of fact, the worst air quality in the country this afternoon, Salt Lake City. In fact, Salt Lake City had the worst air quality of major cities in the world. And you can see where all of that red is on this national smoke forecast. Tomorrow, guess where that moves? Right into Colorado with heavy, thick smoke expected across most of the state. It does get a little bit better as that plume of smoke moves off on Sunday, but there's more out to the west, and that's going to come filtering in here for early next week. So what we're seeing is poor air quality in the gray, fire weather warning off to the west, and this is sort of the smoke front, if you will. That's where it's really starting to push into the state from the west. In advance of it, we had some scattered showers and thunderstorms. You may have heard a rumble or two of thunder. None of these have been severe. They're moving pretty fast, and they'll get out of here in the next couple of hours. And then comes the thick smoke for tonight into tomorrow morning. So isolated gusty storms next few hours. Very poor air quality moves in here overnight tonight through tomorrow. Even if you're healthy, we advise you not to do heavy outdoor exercises tomorrow. That breathing in of those smoke particles like smoking a cigarette while you're jogging. Not a smart idea.
All right, thank you for that morning there, Mike. Jefferson County schools are in a tough spot tonight. With only 10 days before the first day of school, they are rushing to fill hundreds of vacant positions.
The district held its final job fair this summer today, hoping to fill some of those spots. But as Denver7's Gary Brode discovered, the need will likely continue well into the school year.
Hi, are you here for the job fair?
I'm looking for a job.
There's plenty of them within Jefferson County schools, 312 to be exact. More than double the openings they would normally have only 10 days before that first bell rings.
We are getting real close, and we still need a lot more drivers.
The greatest need for the district, paraprofessionals. There are still 92 of these openings that support students and staff in a variety of ways. A job not far behind and perhaps most crucial right now, bus drivers and driver assistants.
With that shortage, they would be looking at pooling stops, doing something where they have students go to a certain location instead of their regular stops to pull them, or eliminating stops altogether.
The county still needs to fill 63 busing positions. Miguel Rodriguez is applying for one of them.
We live in this county, so my kids go to school here. And so just to help out as much as I can, just to help back, just to give back to the community.
Anita Koopman was the first to show up for Friday's job fair. With 15 years experience in food and nutrition services, she's hoping to get back to doing what she enjoyed.
It's very rewarding knowing that you're giving something to the kids that they really need.
Our greatest need is hourly workers, substitute workers.
To do what, just anything?
Yeah, to come in to prep food, to cook food, and to serve food, and then, clean up and go home.
Katie Jeter is the Director of Resources for Foods and Nutrition Services. With 72 positions to fill by August 17th, she knows they're going to have to get creative. Possibly pulling workers from schools that are fully staffed to places shorthanded is an option they're looking into.
We just really need people. We would love the help. So if there are people out there that are listening that are looking for a way to impact their community, work with children, this is great.
In Golden, I'm Gary Brode, Denver7.
A new poll shows a majority of Americans support the CDC's latest mask recommendations, but are divided on vaccine requirements. Quinnipiac University surveyed 1,300 adults last week. 61% say they support wearing masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status. 55% support mask wearing in schools. On the vaccine mandates, Americans are just about split down the middle. For universities requiring students to get the shot, 48% are in support, 49% oppose. For businesses requiring employees to get the shot, 45% in favor, 50% opposed.
Of course, the main concern as kids head back to school is preventing the spread of COVID. And right now, only Pfizer's vaccine is approved for kids and only for those 12 and older.
And there's also no way to know how many students are vaccinated in a lot of the Denver metro school districts. Douglas County and Cherry Creek schools say they will not collect information on a student's vaccination status. Denver Public Schools says it's still waiting on guidance from health officials, but none of the information they say would be released publicly. And this, of course, then has parents wondering how protected their child's school is.
This map shows the vaccination rates of 12 to 17-year-olds in the Denver metro. The darker blue areas indicate a higher rate. The brown and white areas are the lowest rates.
And we also checked with individual public health agencies. In Douglas County, where school starts Monday, 45% of 12 to 15-year-olds are fully vaccinated, along with 60% of 16 and 17-year-olds. In Arapahoe County, the numbers are a little bit lower, 44% and 57%. That covers Aurora and Cherry Creek schools. And then in Denver County, 63% of 12 to 17-year-olds have received at least one dose.
And even though this pandemic obviously isn't quite over, researchers at Colorado State University are already focusing on preventing the next one. They just received a $2 million grant from the Anschutz Foundation. This money will help study the nature of these diseases and work on developing strong countermeasures. The executive director of infectious disease research at CSU says now is the time to prepare for the next pandemic.
When the house is on fire, your focus is to get the people out, get the pets out, then save the structure if you can. It's in between the fires that you build fire trucks and you train people how to use them.
One major focus of the research will be to look at the social response to the pandemic and how we can better educate and inform the public the next time.
Englewood residents no longer need to boil their water. The city lifted that boil order this afternoon. It was put in place after a water sample tested positive for E. coli this week. The city says residents should run all the faucets for at least 5 minutes before using them again. Also, dump out all the ice from your ice maker and let it cycle through, replace at least 3 times. And the city says right now it does not know the source of the contamination.
A verdict has been reached for the so-called hammer killer, the man who brutally murdered the Bennett family in a crime that went unsolved for decades. The jury found Alex Ewing guilty in the 1984 killings of Deborah and Bruce Bennett and their 7-year-old daughter, Melissa. The jury was supposed to reveal its decision yesterday, but they were unable to reach a decision during deliberations. Ewing will be sentenced on August 17th.
More companies now requiring employees to get the vaccine.
The 2 major airlines with hubs in Denver telling staff they need to get the shot or get a new job.
I'm nervous, I'm happy, I'm excited, but once I get the speech over with, I think all my nerves will calm a little bit.
Plus, some of the Broncos' best finally cementing their place in history. Broncos insider Troy Rink has a preview of this weekend's Hall of Fame ceremony.